eliminate diseases. In fact, I have a dream. After 30 years, our kids should speak. Hey, my father seems had something called diabetes. Hey, my grandfather had something called cancer. But they should not be even aware of these conditions. Can we create that kind of world? And that's what I have set out to do. We need to understand what we can do about it. So what is the source of our problems is the food that we are eating. Because 150 years ago, the food that the world was eating was totally different from what we are eating now. And that food, see now the dimension has changed from our body, it has come to a different set of ball games. So the food is gone haywire because of the companies, the fertilizer companies and the pesticide companies created the food, and that's what we are consuming, that's how we are screwed up. So what are these foods that the world has created in the last 50, 60 years that is making us all of sick? And nobody is talking about that. Is wheat, rice, milk, sugar, eggs, and then pigs, and then the cows, and then the chicken. How are these guys creating this in large scale? So the whole world is eating only these materials as food, and that is the problem. And no companies, no multinationals which are involved in these production and then distribution and then all peripheral businesses will not accept that this is the problem. So doctor, you go to doctor, what you say? You eat wheat. Diabetes bandidiya, chapati tinu. The whole world is eating wheat, and as if there is no diabetes elsewhere in the world. The whole world is suffering. We have 28, America has 20, New Zealand has 36% of diabetic patients. So it's not wheat. And then, it's a lifestyle disease. Chief minister's lifestyle is okay. Auto driver's lifestyle is also same, because we have 28 auto drivers, diabetic patients. If you take 100 CMs, 28 CMs have goals. So the distribution pattern is same, whether it is a doctors or this or that. In fact, you take 100 yoga teachers, 28 yoga teachers also have got diabetic patients. Why yoga teachers? Take Swamijis. 100 Swamijis, they also have got 28, not 28, actually 38 Swamijis have got diabetes. So that means we have no clue about what is going on. Neither Swamijis, nor yoga teachers, nor doctors, nor scientists. You go to CFTRI, so-called Food Technology Research Institute, take 100 scientists, 30 scientists have got diabetes. And they call themselves food technologists. They are technologists. They are processing the food after the food. They don't know what food they are processing. And then we have all these so-called guys, to cook the rice in aluminum is bad, to cook the rice in steel is bad, to cook the pressure cooker. Okay, whatever you are cooking, wherever you are cooking, what are you cooking is more important. Whether you cook in steel or mud pot. Of course, you can say cooking in mud pot is better than steel. Steel is better than aluminum. Aluminum is better than this so-called non-stick pans and non-stick materials. They are all polymerized. You have all the polymer particles going to your body. After 6 weeks of dosa making on non-stick tawa, the tawa becomes sticking. So what happened to that non-stick material? It has gone into your tummy. And that is nothing but contaminating your celiac area where the absorption of nutrients takes place. That part becomes hydrophobic instead of being hydrophilic. If you absorb water, you can absorb all the nutrients. And that's how many foreigners, many Europeans started losing their hair. They're all baldies before even they're 30. The reason is their absorbing capacity of this zinc, selenium, copper, this micronutrients is completely gone out of the way, and then they lose their hair, because for their hair to be strong. In fact, that is another parameter. Out of crore women, 1 woman is supposed to be baldy genetically. But now it is 3 women out of 100 are bald heads. That itself speaks volumes of how deranged we are health-wise. Of course, men, lot of people are more. I think now it used to be 21% bald head after 45, men. Now it is 60% bald head after 45. This is the world statistics. That shows, these are all the examples that I keep rambling to help you understand where we are going. So most of you young people, I have no problem, this fellow is simply talking somewhere else. But then you have to look at the whole human race from time zone to time zone and assess. But then we keep getting lot of misinformation from these companies that the time is increased. We are living more years than before. But what are the parameters? There were accidents, there were animals, there were lot of fighting. So people were dying not because of disease. People were fighting the elements and then dying. So you cannot say, see, here we have been cheated. Oh, earlier they were living only 40 years, now we are living. So you go on building everything around you, no animal attacks you, so more number of people are alive, that's all. So I'll put the same 100 fellows, this so-called in the forest. Let me see how many live. You understand what I'm talking? So all these numbers that we throw up are all bogus numbers because the parameters are different, the situations are different. But then this scientific world in quotes has the way of convincing people throwing these numbers at you. So all these are cooked up. And you know software guys, how you can cook up. No issues. But the reality is that we are all sick. How to get out of this? So you need to define the food, and the food is something which releases glucose slowly and steadily into your body. We need glucose. Glucose is the chemical that is burnt by oxygen to release energy, which is trapped by ATP. It is a battery-like molecule, adenosine triphosphate. There is a mechanism called mitochondria. It's a whole assembly line which traps the energy and makes this molecule, triphosphate molecule, wherever energy, I want to move my body, I want to move my eyelid, I want to shit, I want to sleep, I want to breathe. For everything we need energy, and that biological energy is supplied by ATP. And to create ATP in the system, in the cells, you need to burn glucose in each and every cell there and then. I cannot create ATP here and then transport it there. So each cell cluster creates its own ATP. It's all decentralized. There is no centralized way of doing things and then take the ATP there. So it does that. So instead of creating ATP in one space and then distributing, it makes glucose from our blood, distributes into different cells, and then the oxygen goes there. The body, hemoglobin carries the oxygen from the lungs. Hemoglobin goes into the cell and burns the glucose, and then ATP is made. And all these calculations are done, and however much you need ATP, that much is produced. And if you work, if I expend that, then some more amount of glucose goes in, some more gets burnt and things like that. Then if you don't burn the glucose that has gone into the cell, it looks around for some time, no one is burning me, and it just comes back to the blood. So what happens? The glucose in the blood starts increasing, because if you do not work, so to burn 1 gram of glucose from the blood in the cells, you need to walk 15 minutes. So we have 5 grams of blood, 5 liters of blood in our body approximately. And if you are a big fellow, you have 6 liters. If you are a small fellow, 4.5 liters. But average is 5 to 6 liters. So you have 5 grams of glucose always in the blood. Wherever requirement, it keeps giving. And if you have more glucose in the blood, which we are actually supplying too much through our food, because the food that we are eating in the last 30-40 years does not have a control in the glucose release. So if you eat 100 grams of rice, instead of going through 108 steps of digestive process of hydrolytic steps, it just completes in 15 minutes because there is no fiber to hold the carbohydrate hydrolysis. The whole 70 grams of carbohydrate in the rice, you have that one table I had given, just I saw flashed, yeah, the contents of each grain, and so it gets converted into glucose in a matter of 15 to 20 minutes. So you have dumped in your blood around 35 grams of glucose in a matter of 15-20 minutes. And if you eat wheat, yeah, here it is. Check this out. Paddy rice, 79 grams of carbohydrate. 79 grams. Oops. I thought I can move. This right side is also. Okay. Wheat, it is 76. Not very much different. And how much is the fiber? You have 0.2 grams and you have 1.2 grams. And the structure of the grain is you have only 0.2 grams of fiber above the grain. So once you even just pound it, the fiber is gone. And now we don't eat pound rice. We are eating polished rice. The machine polishes and then totally zero. You have no fiber at all. And the wheat, whatever 1.2 grams is there, is treated with alloxan. What is alloxan? Is a bleaching powder-like chemical which oxidizes whatever little fiber is there to make it finer powder. That's what is your atta. There is no fiber, zero fiber. So out of 75 to 76 grams, what is carbohydrate? It is a series of monomer, either glucose, fructose, then becomes sucrose, and sucrose and sucrose, like that it builds up polycarbohydrates. What happens when you digest? It becomes monomers. So ultimately the end product of digestion is producing glucose. So the sucrose giving glucose and fructose builds up into the body. So when you eat 100 grams of rice or wheat, you approximately get around 30 grams of glucose into your blood in no time, 15 to 20 minutes. So you drink coffee, you drink juice, you drink Pepsi, you drink Coke. Now all of our big stars are selling Pepsi, Coke, Thumbs Up, but they are not selling any, they are selling 45 grams of sugar in 100 ml of water. So 45 grams of sugar means 22.5 grams of glucose in a shot. So in a day, if you calculate, you are loading approximately 150 to 170 grams of glucose in your blood in one day. But then I told you, if you want to burn 1 gram of glucose to carbon dioxide, what do? We need to walk 15 minutes. So if I want to burn 5 grams of glucose, how much time I should walk? 75 minutes. So now I have 175 grams. How many? You need more than 30 hours. And we have only 24 hours in a day. But does anyone walk even 1 hour, 2 hours a day? So if you walk 2 or 2.5 hours, you consume around 10 to 12 grams of glucose, and there is enough potential created. So the blood is discharged of glucose, so it wants more glucose, so you can eat. But then we are all techies, and in fact we have converted even the farmers into techies. Even to give water in the farms, you have all these apps and this and that. I can sit here and then press, I can watch and it's going. Okay. And that's the world. So no one works, no one is using glucose burning, but we are eating. ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಇದ್ರೆ toothpaste has got, I'm not talking about all the chemicals, I'm just talking about the sugar. Sugar itself is poison for us. because we are dumping so much, but we are not using it. So what is happening? You are accumulating glucose in the blood. Tons of it now. What does the body do? It's not foolish, just like us. There is a liver, there is a spleen, there is a kidney, there is a gallbladder, all these things and many more ductless glands. They all gang up and say, hey, we know how to convert this glucose into cholesterol. Because cholesterol is needed to make vitamin D. So there is a pathway. So let's get into this. So we make some cholesterol. But how much cholesterol you make? You go on making cholesterol, there's a problem. So that's where the steroids come. Supervisors, hey, that's enough. Now let's make triglycerides, because triglycerides are needed to keep something going. But how much? You keep making some more, because there's a lot of glucose. So you make cholesterol little more than required, because there is not much problem. Salpa jasti adare en tondre illa, just make it. Another triglycerides. So rheumatic factor we needed to fight some antigens. So some of it will produce. So the body starts getting into emergency operations, because to take care of the stupid glucose that we have been dumping without control, it starts making all these products. They were all necessary for us to some extent. But then this fellow is not stopping here. It keeps coming. So I keep making something, because if that is there in the blood, what happens? If you put sugar here, in 2-3 hours, it starts absorbing water. Am I right? Sugar absorbs water. So the moisture makes it liquid. Same thing happens in the blood, because you have too much sugar, it starts absorbing water from the cells. Then the cells are parched, because water is required. We are 75% our body is water. Each and every cell has to be with water 75%. If water is less, we go and drink water. Am I right? So if you have a lot of sugar in your blood, what happens is you start feeling thirsty, because it starts absorbing water from all the cells. So to quench the thirst, we drink a lot of water. When you have a lot of water in the body, the kidney kicks in and starts filtering. So after drink water, you want bathroom attached. So that's why even before you build your office rooms, where are the bathrooms? Because you want to keep going to the bathroom. So to avoid that condition, the body is making all these adjustments. The emergency dance is going on. But we have enough of glucose in the body that it makes cholesterol, it makes triglycerides, it makes rheumatic factor, it makes glycogen. Glycogen is again packing of the glucose. If we have not got enough sometime in the future, I need to feed my body it storage material. And enough glycogen is stored, it will make some fat. Enough fat is then it makes some meat. So that starts, people start building up their bodies. Oh, no problem, this is called obesity. These doctors named it as another disease. So people start obese. In fact, in America, young boys and girls are weighing more than 80 kilos at the age of 17. The same problem has come to India. Now, many are obese. No one need to be obese actually, if we only know how to deal with this glucose. Because we don't know how to deal with glucose, so you have become obese, your cholesterol has gone high, your triglycerides have gone high, your fat material has gone high. So what to do with this extra fat? It starts tapping it into the blood vessels. Then your blood vessels are blocked, your heart is blocked. No problem, come, we'll remove the blocks, we'll put the stent. So these guys are talking about something else. The problem is somewhere else. So the whole root cause of the problem is this excess glucose in your, whether it is for your rheumatism, that's your cholesterol, that's your triglycerides, that's your BP, that's your diabetes. So this much adjustments are done and nothing else is happening because we have still excess glucose. The blood itself is being dropped onto the glucose. So the hemoglobin itself is coated with glucose, and that is called HbA1c. So hemoglobin is now taking the glucose onto itself and roaming around. So what was the job of hemoglobin? To carry oxygen and burn the glucose. Now glucose itself is sitting on it. So the oxygen is dislodged, then you start feeling tired. So when the HbA1c increases in your blood, you become diabetic. And because that should have been 6, now you have 7, 8, 9, 10. People are now at 12 HbA1c. Your hemoglobin should be 12. Hemoglobin is coming down, HbA1c is going up. So now I have described you many processes. It is due to the excess of glucose. Anything can happen first. If your body's nature is that you could have HbA1c high go first, or cholesterol go high first, or triglycerides, or rheumatism. So depending upon your body and your activities, either you become rheumatic patient, or BP patient, or triglyceride patient, or diabetes patient. And it's actually the situation is not that. Everyone is becoming all the patients over a period of time now. Either you are becoming diabetic first, or BP later, or BP first, or diabetic later. And that is the scenario we find in the present day world. Am I right? So where is the root cause of all the diseases now, the modern diseases? It is the food. Now no doctor in the world, no curriculum in the world talks about food. You have this, you take this tablet. You have this, you do this. You have this, you do that. You have this. You do all the things together. You see where we are and where the problem is? I have lost, say I forget this here and go away. And then I search in Bangalore city. Will I get this? I have to come back and search here. So where the problem is, that's where you need to work. But no one is working in where the problem is. The problem is food. So if your food is not right, whatever medicines you take, how will it work? But then how are these doctors trained now? You eat whatever you want, you take this tablet. ಏನಾದರೂ ತಿನ್ನಪ್ಪ ಈ ಟ್ಯಾಬ್ಲೆಟ್ ತಗೋ. ಇನ್ನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಪೆಗ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೂ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪೆಗ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಮಗ್ಗ ಖಾಲಿ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. And this is the sad story of modern world. You see, we have no connection for what we are doing, and we are all made to believe that this is the science. So how can I cure a patient who is diabetic, who has cancer, who has migraine, unless I change the food? So I need to find a food, not drugs. If I find drugs, I will make you addicts. And that's what the world is all about. Now all are drug addicts. You may be BP drug addict, diabetes drug addict, steroid drug addict, all are addicts. You're all addicted to something or the other. And that's what this economic model wants. You all have to be addicted to something or the other, so I can keep selling that. This is the bottom line in the corporate language. So you're all there. You're fixed. I use the word fixed in many dimensions. You're all fixed. Fixed on drugs, fixed on addictions, and so you keep going round and round and round. So that's why you're all becoming sicker and sicker and sicker. You see the futile processes that you are running around. So you want to become healthy? Please look around. Look differently. Think out of the box. The box is not right. Here comes the wonderful grains. Here. So what do? We need to change the grain. The food that can release glucose slowly and steadily instead of flooding the blood. And that mechanism God has created in these wonderful 5 grains. So all this bashing that I have done, bear with me, I don't have any intention of scolding anyone. But this is the mistake the whole human race has done. So if we want to get out of this deadlock, We need to think differently. We need to do things differently. So if we continue in the same cycle, nothing will happen. So you see the sugar. Don't think there is no carbohydrate in the grains that I am proposing to eat. This is 76, this is 69.7, 70. So enough of carbohydrate is there. Not that there is not enough. But the difference is you have, along with that, fiber enriched. I use the word enriched. Enriched means not more. Just enough to do the job. So many people think that when I say siridhanya, it has high fiber. No, it doesn't have high fiber. It has enough fiber. It is the right fiber, right amount of fiber. So 60 grams to 8 grams, 65 grams to 9.8, and this corle called brown top millet has got 12.5%. And how is it arranged? What if this 12.5% fiber, just like rice, if it is on the upper layer, then when you dehusk it, you will lose that also. So there is no use. So that means something else has to be done. So what does God do? He starts arranging the fiber from the center into layers, those concentric circles, so different layers. So you have the fiber and the carbohydrate fiber and the carbohydrate fiber and the sugars entangled, interlinked in a complex and complicated fashion. That is the distribution of fiber. And so now when I eat this grain, I don't get my glucose suddenly, because I need to get rid of this fiber and release the glucose into my body slowly and steadily. And that's exactly what happens when you eat 100 grams of brown top millet. It takes 8 hours to release the glucose into your blood. What does it do? It does step by step, quantum by quantum. So in aliquots, in small quantities, 3 grams, 5 grams, 4 grams. So even if I grind this grain, make a flour, the carbohydrate and the fiber is not separated. Only your digestive process can remove that. But then to do that, you need to make the process easy. If you just eat like that, the fiber does not get separated. It has to be soaked with water. Only soaking, after absorbing a lot of water, the fiber starts expanding and gets ready to be digested. So now the problem for all of us is Amitabh Bachchan has come for the last 20 years. No mother is needed, no father is needed. 2 minutes, noodles. So all kids can go and put this in hot water and make noodles ready. Tumba chanagide. And this is the image this great Amitabh Bachchan has given the whole India. And now why kids? Navu tintivi. So all people stopped cooking properly. They are all quick food. 2 minutes alli ready agbeku. I have no time. Mahindra Tech closes the gate. Run, run, run. So everyone stopped cooking. 2 minutes cooking has come into vogue. And on top of it, MTR Mayas. Oh, this packet, that packet. 2 minutes instant puliogre, 2 minutes, all these food technologies, food processing, oh, big industry, big industry. So all these machines come into picture. They forgot what they are cooking, as I said, no. They don't know what they are cooking, but they are cooking. They don't know what they are doing. So you cannot cook things 2 minutes with these grains. You got to soak them. Soak, even if it is flour, you have to soak. So roti madbekandrunu with wheat and rice, you don't need to soak. You can just cook because it's just carbohydrate, pista, nothing else. But that doesn't work here. So you need to get back to the real cooking methods. That means you soak in the night. It will take generally 6 to 8 hours of soaking to make the fiber release itself, get prepared to cook. Then it gets cooked in 5 to 10 minutes. Even in the mud pot you can cook. So you need to learn how to. Many people, in the initial stages, I used to say, take the thing and eat, because if you eat first, then you get something. So earlier in my lectures, first maybe 2011, 2012, I used to say, soak them for half an hour, because if I tell you have to soak for 8 hours, oh, this mad fellow is just, no one will even listen to me. So initially I also did the trick of saying, even if you soak half an hour, the top part of it slowly releases. But then you will have some stomach pain and then some small boils, because if you eat uncooked fiber, it starts hitting you hard. But despite that, you start feeling the benefits of it, because the glucose doesn't run into your blood. So the body, the parts start getting the freedom of working on the real things. So when you see, this is the sad story. Glucose is very much required for our living, but then it becomes more, it is the poison. In fact, it starts disturbing your immunity. So a gram of sugar can put you back 6 months as far as your immunity is concerned. So touching a gram of sugar makes you that much disease prone. So if you avoid sugar completely, zero sugar, I guarantee you can face dengue, pangu, chikungunya, hyphae, every day, no problem at all, because the bone marrow is ready to face all these kinds of viruses. If you take sugar, you are in trouble, because your body is not able to produce the antibodies that are required. You see the difference now? So the moment you don't take rice, sugar, wheat, and then how producing the meat and the eggs is another different dimension. They are making soybean and corn, mix them with steroids, and make the chicken, cows, pigs eat 16 hours a day, and then the meat is produced. So the residues of all these chemicals, in 100 grams of egg, you are consuming 8 times more chemicals compared to a kilo of vegetable or a kilo of rice or a kilo of wheat. So the chemicals start doing their dance in your body and then start disturbing your DNA, and the cancerous conditions take place. And especially the soybean glyphosate, which is used to make soybean, the herbicide, is #1 carcinogenic material. So people are eating soybean left and right, and the cancer has been increasing. Wherever there is meat-eating countries, you have cancer more. It's not because the meat, the way we produce meat, contains a lot of steroids. Even regular, normal, natural meat has a lot of steroids. Because body functions, you need all these chemicals. So if we load ourselves with the extra steroids, our systems get imbalanced. And that's why, in fact, literally people are getting imbalanced. That's called Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and they are increasing in number in other countries, especially meat-eating countries. You have Parkinson now 17%, 18%. Parkinson's is you don't know who you are. You start losing the balance of the nerves itself, and your body starts dancing. They have different names. They don't have no control. Their hand keeps on shaking and shaking and shaking. They don't know that it is shaking. They cannot hold, they cannot write, they cannot sign. All these very pathetic conditions we are getting into. All these conditions can be reversed, absolutely reversed, in a matter of 6 months to 2 years if we change the conditions of the food. So simple, logical, and very scientific method is to change our food rather than taking the tablet. So who do you need to go around? Not doctors. If you want health, you need to go around people who can grow these grains. And these grains traditionally are grown where there is no rain. That means even just 4 rains can produce these grains. 200 liters, all that it takes to produce 1 kilo of these 5 grains. And these grains are termed as neutral grains because of the ratio. Actually, there is another table which is to be supplied. If you actually divide 60 by 8, 65 by 9.8, you get, it's all in single digits, below 10. And if you do the same process here with these grains, pearl millet too, this is all above 25. So the ratio of fiber to carbohydrate in these 5 grains is below 10. And that's how it gives you health. And all other grains are above 20, the ratio. See, take this pearl millet, 67 by 1.2. So it's almost around 35 or something like that. And the same thing with wheat. And you see 66 by almost 3. So it's around 23. If you do 60 by 8, the ratio is 8, approximately 7 point something. And 70 by 12.5 is 5.5 for brown top millet. So the lesser the ratio, the health giving conditions. So what it actually means is that if you take this kind of grains, this will not cure your any disease. So if you are diabetic, if you eat ragi, it will not cure your diabetes. But if you eat only ragi and nothing else, you will not invite disease, but it will not cure you of any disease. So this has no healing properties, but it can maintain you. That's why we call them neutral grains. Neither it takes you into positive domain or negative domain. But you are already sick, it cannot lift you up. So most of us are now eating ragi and rice and wheat, so you become sick only. So this is 0 value, this is minus 100, these are plus 100. So now if you are in the minus, you have to eat positive grains. That's why we also termed as of positive grains, which has got high fiber content. I use the word high fiber content, but it is the right fiber content for our body needs. So many people, many experts, it's high fiber, don't eat. It's not high fiber, but it is high fiber with relative relationship with these 2 grains. See, you have 0.2 grams and 8 grams. It's almost 40 times more. So it is high fiber, that's what they call. But I call them right fiber. For us to do the job, to release the glucose slowly and steadily into your blood. So now the definition of food comes into picture. What is the definition? A food is one which releases glucose into our blood slowly and steadily in a balance. And once we figured this out, our health is in our hands. So now if you eat all the time these grains, even if you are sick, your health comes back. So this being the proposition, I started searching for these grains and then went to different farmers and collected the seeds. In fact, we had hardly left these seeds, and then I brought them and grew them, large quantities, and collected some 10 diabetes gangrene patients. We gave them, within 3 days, this gangrene disappeared. And once you have gangrene, it is the job of doctors is to remove the legs, fingers, and then supply them with artificial. So it started, the journey started, and I don't know how many I have cured now. I have no count. It is thousands and thousands and thousands. Now it's gone to lakhs because people are not even coming to me. I have been giving this, and we have made books, PDF, and it is free. You can go to Google and download. It's in English, it's in Kannada, it's in Telugu, it's in Hindi, all kinds of things. And anyone can download free and then start eating these grains. And you can feel the difference. And it's a matter of 6 weeks. Everyone starts experience this health. We're not talking about disease here. We're talking about health. Your body is finding that health in the system because the glucose is not flooding your blood. Once that is not there, the system is left free to function in all dimensions, to clean up, to maintain, to do this, to do that. And all these organs end up doing their job properly, you become healthy. And that's the magic. And I don't like the word magic because magic and miracle can be done once in a while. But this is based on sheer science. It doesn't matter. You can line up lakhs of people follow these simple principles, all the lakh can be healed if they have time. And many people are at the end stage, they may die. Some of them may die because we may not be able to help. We have enough time. And we ended up curing so-called cancer patients, so-called HIV patients, so-called SLE patients, so-called multiple sclerosis, so-called brain tumors, so-called fibroids, so-called breast cancer. So we listed different kinds of cancers, different kinds of what kind of grains you need to eat, because each grain has a different capacity. So the Foxtail cleans up, that file is there, different, it is there, you can go through. Foxtail does clean up your nervous system and lungs. Kodo millet, Arca cleans up your blood and bone marrow. Barnyard cleans up your brain and liver. And your brown top cleans up almost every part of your body, especially the digestive system. So you have anal cancer, esophageal cancer, stomach cancer, the brown top comes into picture. You have blood cancer, Kodo millet comes into picture. Lung cancer, your Foxtail comes into picture. So different organs are cleaned and maintained by different grains. Grains means basically it is the fiber. The fiber is two kinds. One is soluble fiber, another is non-soluble fiber. So the soluble fiber is in the blood, cleaning up all the systems. The insoluble fiber is in the rectal area to the large intestine. It coats that area and it becomes hydrophilic and starts absorbing the right nutrients and starts making things happen. So you shit properly. The first thing you do is you shit properly. And the shit doesn't stick to your pan. When you pour 2 tumblers of water, it washes away. If you eat rice, wheat and other these materials, the shit doesn't go away. You need to end up throwing 15 buckets of water. So that is the first and simple parameter you can look for. You are becoming healthy, you start using less water to clean your toilet. And that is the most important thing needed for the future generation. We have no water. Water